Greetings! In this video, we're going to be talking about data visualization in Python. We're going to introduce you to the Matplotlib module and show you how you can use it to generate plots of various types. We're also going to introduce you to Matplotlib's third-party documentation so that you can read it and potentially produce other types of graphs other than the ones we're explicitly covering in this video. Simply put, Matplotlib is a Python module that specializes in generating and visualizing data. It works hand in hand with NumPy. So basically, you put data in a NumPy array, and then you use one of Matplotlib's various plotting functions to actually produce your visualization. And they have visualizations for everything. If you go to the documentation, you will see that they have some for step functions, plotting scatter plots. They even have one here of a dolphin that I haven't quite figured out how to use yet, but we shall see. Okay, so the general idea is the same as NumPy. We have to import the matplotlib.pyplot library, and then we're going to use the same alias there. We're going to get an array, and then we're going to plot it. So why don't we go ahead and do that? And by the way, this is what we're going to produce when we're done. Alright, so I have my data set here. The first thing I need to do is go ahead and import matplotlib, and then I'm going to give it an alias because I really don't want to type all of this every single time. So the first thing we're going to do is a simple line plot. Okay, and I already have my data set here. As a reminder, this is the temperature data set that has the temperature every hour at the USAFA airfield. So we're just going to go ahead and plot that real quickly. So the way that I do that is I already have my NumPy array. So then all I'm going to do is say plt.plot, and then I'm going to say the data set. So temperature data set. And once I have that, I'll do plt.show. Okay? And that's it. Those are the two lines. I press play, and ta-da! I get a cool little figure. So this is cool in and of itself. In addition, you get this really nice interface, so I can actually zoom in on particular parts of my dataset. If I wanted to, I could press this Save the Figure button, and it would actually let me save it as an image, so you could import it into your applications. I can pan and zoom around. I can do all sorts of cool things, and I can reset the original view. So already, I have a lot of functionality that comes with me just from these two lines of code. But I can make this look even nicer. For example, wouldn't it be nifty if I had a title? So it might be nice for us to say airfield temperature, right? It'd be nice to have a title for it. It might also be nice to go ahead and say, label our axes, so I can have the X label be time and then the Y label be temperature in degrees Fahrenheit, right? So if I was to press play here, I would actually get my nice little axes labeled, and I get a nice little title. So that's cool, right? I can produce some really nice visualizations, and it doesn't take that much code. So a line plot is easy enough. There's other types of plots you can do. A histogram is a way of representing how data is grouped together, right? So one way that we can do it, we'll go back here and we can just generate a histogram real quick, is rather than have, I'm going to go ahead and close this, rather than plot the temperature of the data set as a line plot, now we're going to do a histogram. And the way that I do that is I basically take my values in my array, and then I will just go ahead and hist, and then say temp dataset. If I do this, and can't forget the show part. This part here is the part that I always forget. Right? If I press play here, I will actually get a nice little histogram. This histogram is trying to tell me that between this temperature value and this temperature value, there were 2 entries in my dataset that fell in there. Between this temperature range and this temperature range, there were 3 values. Between this temperature range and this temperature range, there were 4 values. So it's a good way of showing you how your data is, how it groups across the X dimension. All right. So that is a histogram, and again, I basically start off with an array. I can have a title if I want to be fancy. I create the histogram using this function, the hist function, and then I go ahead and I display the result. And when you do that, you can get some very nice graphics there. We can also do line plots. So now, if I wanted to get a little bit fancier, what I can do is plot multiple pieces of data at the same time. So let's say, for example, I'm going to do line plots. And now I want to, let's go ahead and just start off with our plot the temperature dataset again. Alright, And then just to remember that we know how to do this, right? And we can actually even go and do a little bit more, right? We can add a title. And then we can even go ahead and label our axes. So this could be time, this could be temperature. Kind of wish I had Control Z and undid that all, but okay. If I run this real quick, I get my temperature, a plot. Now let's plot a second data set, right? Well, that's really easy to do. All I have to do, let's plot the wind chill. So I'm just going to go and say plt.plot, and then I'm going to add the wind chill data set. And when I do this and I press play, whoops. Make sure you spell plot correctly. I press play. Now I have here the airfield weather, and I see 2 plots. So that's really nice, right? And I can actually zoom it up. So let's make some enhancements to this. The first things first, this time thing down here probably isn't so awesome. Someone might not know that it's 0 o'clock and this is 2300, right? So it might be nice to specify the x-axis, because right now we have all the data on the y-axis. It might be nice to specify what the x-axis is. So we could do, for example, just time. And I could go ahead and I can create my own NumPy array. And then here, I could actually do right, and I can create that array. And then here, when I'm plotting it, rather than just plotting the y value, if I put this here, I'm basically specifying this is the x-axis I want to plot, this is the y-axis I want to plot. And I'm going to do it for both of them. And actually, just to show you, I'm lining it up. There has to be the same number of elements in this list. So there's 24 items in this list, and this list and this list also have 24. So we have to make sure they have the same number of elements. And then when I press play here, it looks the same, right? But I don't have to just have numbers. So for example, I could do, if I wanted to, I could actually put them as time, right? And I'm only going to do a couple just to prove the point. But if I do it like this, and I press play, you'll notice that if I spread it out a little bit, I can actually have the time written out. So I can specify whatever string I want, and I can specify the x-axis that way. Another way, if I really don't want to write every single value, let's say I have hundreds of values in my x-axis, another way that I could do it potentially is using a function that generates a range of values for me. So here, what I'm doing is, this is just like a for loop. I can say I'm going to start at 0, I'm going to go to 24, and I'm going to increment by 1. And this will produce all the numbers between 0 and 23. So this is just like a for loop. And I don't know why I would want to do this, but let's say I wanted to start at 30 and go to 54. Again, just showing you that I can do this. Now I can specify a different X range in the bottom. So lots of different ways that you can modify that X range on the bottom. Additionally, it would also be nice to know which one of these lines corresponds to which data set, right? I don't know that the blue one is it the wind chill, because wind is blue? I don't know. So one way that we can do that and specify is that in addition to specifying the data when we plot it, we can also specify a label. So here I could say this is the temperature, and then down here I can specify that this is the wind chill. Right? And once I have this, I can actually go and say plot.legend, right? And if I do this and I press play, what you will see is a legend appear. So now I actually can see what's going on here on the blue one corresponds to temperature and the orange one corresponds to wind chill. Let's see, what else can I do? I can move the legend. That's simple enough, right? What I could do here is say the location, and I can pick a corner. So for example, if I want it to be in the upper left instead of the upper right where it currently is, I just specify it like that, and now I have it over here. Again, lots of customization. We can do some cool things. Oh, why don't we, I don't like lines. Let's change that. Instead of lines, what else? Let's go look at the documentation. If I go and look at all of the different ways that I can format this, you'll see, what are these? These are symbols apparently that I can use in lieu of lines. So I'm going to say, what if I do a P? I am going to put a P. And then if I press play, that's cool. So I can actually change it from a line to these markers. Let's see, what else is there? I can do star. Okay, I like stars. Alright, and when I press play here, yeah, okay, so now I've got little blue pentagons and orange stars. Can I change the color? I sure can. Look at that. So, okay, so if I want to have, let's say I want a blue, magenta pentagons and red stars for some reason, because I'm crazy like that. Magenta pentagons and red stars. And I press play. There we go. Now it's looking stylish. All right. And I can even actually just get rid of this altogether. I don't need stars. Maybe I want just to do a dashed line. There you go. So lots of ways that I can visualize this data, right? I can choose whatever I want, and it doesn't take a lot of lines of code, again, to do this. So that's what makes all of this super, super exciting, right? So again, once you have your data sets as arrays, you can specify a range of x values if you want to. This is where we plot both data sets, and we can configure it. We can specify the x coordinates, the y's, and we can specify how we want to style that line, and we can give it a label. We can specify a title, a legend, give it a location, and never forget show, right? That's the one that actually displays the result on the screen. And you can get all sorts of nice, cool things. In addition to just having one plot on the screen, it's actually possible to plot multiple things on the screen. So I'm going to show you how you do that right now. So we have our data set again, and I'm actually going to erase all of that. Probably will regret this, but that's okay. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the location of my subplot. So if you think of a table, I need to specify how many rows, how many columns, and what position I'm currently on. So what I will say is subplot, and then here I will say it's one row, it's two columns, and I'm talking about column 1 right now. Alright? And once I have that, I can do plt.plot. I can do the same thing, times temp dataset, and then I can specify some sort of magenta circles. Cool. And then down here, I will say p.show. When I run that, you can already see that I have subplots because it's divvied up the screen so that this portion is going to be my first plot, and then this portion is column 2. Alright? So let's say I wanted to actually plot, I'll put a title here also. Title, airfield temperature. And then now let's talk about the second subplot. So here I'm going to go plt.subplot, and I'll go, it's still row 1, it's still 2 columns, but now we're talking about column 2. Alright? And here, now I can say plot, and then times, wind chill, dataset, and we're not going to put any customizations on that. And we're just going to say wind chill at the airfield. And now when I show, I'm going to see 2 plots. And remember, the important thing about this is that once I type this command, now all the commands that follow it are talking about the plot at row 1, column 1. Here, when I have I type this command, now all the commands below it are talking about row 1, column 2. And then here's where we're actually showing it to the crowd, right? So again, I can produce the first subplot and a second subplot, and as long as I am specifying beforehand what subplot I'm talking about, Matplotlib is really good about displaying it in the right position. Alright? Let's plot a function. Sometimes, in these examples, we only gave you raw data, right? So these are the values, and you had to plot them. But there are some times where we don't actually know what we want to plot yet, or we want to plot like a function and we don't have all the y values. So here I'm going to show you how to plot it. And to do that, I'm going to delete it, and I really hope I didn't make a mistake here. So what we're going to do is we're going to define an arbitrary math function, and I'm just going to pick one, x cubed. Alright, so I'm just going to declare a math function in Python using the way that we already know how to write functions. So my function, it takes an x, and it's just going to return x to the third. Right? So that's x cubed. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to specify the x range, the range of x's we want to graph. So here I will go say my x range is equal to, and we'll just do it from -10 to 10, incrementing by 1. And now we're actually going to plot the function. So the way we do this is we still use the plot, but instead of just having an array of all the values, I say x range here, that's my x values, and now I just type the function here, and then I give it the whole x range. Okay? And when I do this, and I say plot.show, shows the plot, what you will see is it actually plots it. So you can see over the range of -10 to, it looks like 9, because, and remember, this is like a for loop. It just goes to 1 minus this range. It's actually plotting the whole thing, and it's really cool. I really enjoy this stuff. So again, there's a lot more. There are tons more that you can do. The documentation is always going to be your friend. So for example, if I pick the dolphin plot, I may not know how to graph a dolphin in real life, but I sure as heck can copy and paste this code and at least get this as a starting point. And then I can tweak it and see what happens when I mess with all the various things. So you will see all the code here. Matplotlib has fantastic documentation. It just takes some time for you to go through it and understand what it is that you want. But again, this is all what programming really is. It's just a matter of you going out, reading up on what a function does, and then learning how to use that function. So that's it. In this lesson, in over 2 videos, we showed you how to use NumPy in order to represent data and perform some basic analytics on it. And then using Matplotlib, we showed you how you can take an array in NumPy and actually plot it in interesting ways. So you're not going to get better unless you practice it. So go out, practice it, let us know if you have any questions, and thanks for watching. Bye. Greetings! In this video we're going to be talking about data visualization in Python. Come on! Freaking Timmons.